My wife said, "If you were better in bed, I wouldn't need him." I smiled and replied, "If you were better at hiding affairs, you'd still have a husband." The words hung in our kitchen like smoke from a grease fire. Vivian stood there in her silk robe, coffee mug frozen halfway to her lips, realizing she'd just stepped on a landmine she didn't know existed. "Elliott, Save it." I turned back to my laptop, fingers steady on the keyboard despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. "You've said enough for one morning." "My name is Elliott Mercer, and I'm a structural engineer. I build things that don't fall down, bridges, buildings, foundations that last decades. I understand stress loads, failure points, and what happens when something carries more weight than it was designed to handle. Marriages, I'm learning, follow similar principles." Vivian set her mug down with shaking hands. "That's not what I meant. I was angry about last night, about you working late again, and You what? Accidentally told the truth?" I closed the laptop and looked at her properly for the first time in months. Really looked. The guilt was written all over her face like blueprints I should have read earlier. "How long, Viv?" "How long what?" "Don't insult my intelligence. Craig Dutton, your boss, how long?" Her face went white. In 15 years of marriage, I'd never seen Vivian speechless. She was a paralegal at Morrison, Dutton and Associates, sharp as a razor, quick with words. She could argue circles around most lawyers. But right now, she looked like a deer caught in headlights. "I don't know what you're talking about." I opened my laptop again, pulled up the screenshots I'd taken from her iPad 2 nights ago. The device she'd left unlocked on the kitchen counter while she showered. The same device that synced with her phone. Tuesday, November 15th. Can't wait to feel you inside me again. Wednesday, November 16th. My husband's working late. Come over. Thursday. Stop. Her voice cracked. Just stop. 6 months, Vivian. 6 months of hotel receipts on our joint credit card. La Quinta Inn on Maple Street. Always Tuesday afternoons. Always charged to your card. Always when you told me you were at continuing education seminars. She slumped into the chair across from me. "How did you—" "I'm an engineer. I notice patterns. Stress fractures start small, but they spread if you don't address them." I turned the laptop screen toward her. "You've been careless, sloppy. Did you think I was too stupid to notice, or did you just not care enough to hide it properly?" Tears started rolling down her cheeks. Real ones, not the crocodile variety she used when she wanted something. "Elliott, please. It's not what you think. It's complicated." "Adultery usually is?" I stood up, poured myself more coffee. My hands were steady. That surprised me. "Tell me about complicated, Viv. Tell me how my wife screwing her boss for 6 months is complicated." "You're never here. You work 60-hour weeks. You come home exhausted. You fall asleep watching television. When's the last time we talked? Really talked?" "So this is my fault?" "I didn't say that. You implied it. Just like you implied I'm inadequate in bed. Just like you've been implying for months that everything wrong in your life is because I'm not enough." I sat back down, leaned forward. "Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to finish my coffee. I'm going to go to work. When I come home tonight, we're going to have a different conversation." "What kind of conversation?" "The kind where you tell me everything, every detail, every lie, every time you looked me in the eye and lied about where you'd been." I closed the laptop. "And then we're going to discuss what comes next." Vivian wiped her eyes. "And if I don't want to have that conversation?" I smiled. Not a nice smile. "Then you won't have a choice in what comes next." I grabbed my keys, my laptop bag, and headed for the door. Vivian called after me, but I didn't turn around. I had work to do. Not at the office. That could wait. I had research to conduct, phone calls to make, plans to formulate. My phone buzzed as I started the truck. Text message from Vivian. "We can work this out. I love you." I deleted it without responding. The drive to Morrison, Dutton and Associates took 12 minutes. I'd never been to Vivian's workplace, but I knew the address. 3-story brick building downtown, expensive cars in the parking lot. Craig Dutton's silver BMW sat in the spot marked Managing Partner. I parked across the street and waited. At 7:47 a.m., Vivian's Honda pulled into the lot. She sat in her car for 5 minutes, probably texting, probably warning him. At 8:15, Craig Dutton walked out to his car. Tall, well-dressed, the kind of guy who spent more on his haircut than I spent on groceries. He looked around nervously, checking his phone. I started my truck and followed him. Craig drove like a man with secrets, checking mirrors, taking unnecessary turns, stopping at yellow lights. He ended up at Starbucks on 5th Street, ordered something complicated, sat at a corner table with his back to the wall. I ordered black coffee and sat 3 tables away, close enough to hear his phone conversation. No, she can't know for sure. She's fishing. I don't care what he said. There's no proof. We stick to the story. You were at seminars. I was in court. Vivian, calm down. He's an engineer, not a detective. Wrong, Craig. I'm an engineer who pays attention to details, and right now, you're my new project. I followed him back to the office, then drove to my own job at Meridian Engineering. My partner, Marty Banks, was already at his desk, surrounded by blueprints and coffee cups. You look like hell, Elliott. Rough night? Rough morning. Marty, I need a favor. Name it. I need the contact information for Harold Ashford. Marty raised an eyebrow. Harold Ashford was the best divorce attorney in the state. Also happened to be my old college roommate, though we hadn't spoken in years. Everything okay? It will be. I called Harold from my office, door closed, blinds drawn. Elliott Mercer. Well, I'll be damned. How long has it been? Too long, Harold. I need your help. Professional or personal? Both. Harold's tone shifted, became businesslike. What's the situation? I gave him the basics. Adultery, 6 months, evidence, assets to protect. Harold listened without interrupting, the way good lawyers do. How much evidence do you have? Screenshots of text messages, hotel receipts, credit card statements. I can get more. Don't do anything illegal. No breaking and entering, no hacking, no recording conversations without consent. Virginia's a one-party consent state, so if you're a part of the conversation, you can record it. But be smart. What about assets? How much are we talking about? House is worth $400,000, paid off. Retirement accounts, savings, about $600,000 total. Everything's joint except my pension. Get to the bank today. Move half of everything into accounts in your name only. It's legal during marriage, and it protects you if she tries to drain accounts later. Do it before she thinks of it. What about the house? That's trickier. But if you can prove adultery, Virginia still recognizes fault-based divorce. She won't get half of everything if she's the one who broke the marriage. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not relief, exactly, but the satisfaction of having a plan. Harold, I want to destroy her. Legally, ethically, but completely. Elliott, I understand you're angry. Not angry, focused. She made a choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences. Harold was quiet for a moment. All right. But we do this right. No shortcuts, no revenge fantasies. Just cold, legal precision. That's all I want. After I hung up, I sat in my office for 10 minutes, staring at the wall. Then I opened my laptop and started working. Not on engineering projects, on evidence collection. Vivian's iPad synced with her phone, her email, her cloud storage. All of it accessible from my laptop because we'd set up family sharing years ago. All of it legal because she'd given me the passwords. I found everything. Hotel reservations going back 8 months, longer than I'd thought. Photos she'd sent to Craig, photos he'd sent back, email exchanges about meeting times, about lies to tell me, about how boring and distant her husband was. The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was how casual it all seemed, how little they'd thought about me at all. There was a knock on my office door. Marty stuck his head in. You've been in here for 4 hours. It's lunchtime. Not hungry. Bullshit. Come on, let's get sandwiches. You can tell me what's really going on. We went to Murphy's Deli, a place where the sandwiches were huge and the coffee was strong. Marty waited until I'd eaten half my sandwich before pressing. So, Harold Ashford, divorce attorney. Want to talk about it? Vivian's having an affair. Marty nearly choked on his coffee. Jesus, Elliott. Are you sure? Completely sure. With who? Her boss, Craig Dutton. Hey, that pretentious jerk with the BMW? I've seen him around town. Thinks he's God's gift. That's the one. Marty leaned back in his chair. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes. Elliott, be careful. Don't do anything stupid. I'm not going to do anything stupid. I'm going to do everything smart. We finished lunch in relative silence. When we got back to the office, there were 3 missed calls from Vivian on my phone. I deleted them without listening to the voicemails. At 4 o'clock, I drove to First National Bank. By 4:30, I'd moved $300,000 into a new account in my name only. Legal, Harold had said, protective. At 5 o'clock, I went to public storage and rented a unit. By 6 o'clock, I'd moved my important documents, my tools, and anything else I couldn't afford to lose. At 6:30, I drove home. Vivian's car was in the driveway. The lights were on in the kitchen. She was waiting. I sat in my truck for a moment, gathering myself. Then I walked inside. She was at the kitchen table, still in her work clothes, a glass of wine in front of her. Her eyes were red from crying. "Elliott, we need to talk." "Yes, we do." I sat down across from her, the same seats we'd occupied that morning. It felt like a year ago. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake, and I want to fix it. How long, Vivian? And don't lie to me again. I have all the evidence I need." She took a shaky breath. 8 months. "Why?" "I don't know. I was lonely. I was angry about you working all the time, and Craig was attentive." "Attentive?" "He listened to me. He made me feel important, desired. You haven't touched me in months, Elliott. We barely talk. I felt invisible in my own marriage." "So you decided to have an affair instead of talking to me about it." "It wasn't supposed to happen. It just did." I pulled out my phone, opened the photo gallery, screenshots of her text messages to Craig. November 20th. "I wish I could leave Elliott and be with you." November 22nd. "He's so boring in bed, nothing like you." November 25th. "I'm thinking about asking for a divorce." Vivian's face crumpled. "Elliott, please." "Were you planning to leave me for him?" "I don't know. Maybe. I was confused." "Are you in love with him?" She didn't answer immediately. That told me everything. "Yes," she whispered. I nodded. "Thank you for being honest. Finally." "But I love you too. I know that sounds impossible, but it sounds like bullshit." I put my phone away. "Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, you're going to pack your things and move out." "Elliott, no. This is my house too." "Actually, it's not. I bought this house 2 years before we got married. It's in my name only. Check the deed." Her face went white. "You can't just kick me out." "I'm not kicking you out. I'm asking you to leave. There's a difference. You can stay with Craig or your sister or get your own place. I don't care. But you can't stay here. And if I refuse, then I file for divorce tomorrow and make sure everyone in town knows exactly why." Vivian started crying again. "Please don't do this. We can go to counseling. We can work it out." "You made your choice, Viv. You chose Craig. Now live with it." I stood up. "I'm going to my office. When I come out, I want your answer." I locked myself in my home office and called Harold. "How did the bank go?" "Done. Assets secured." "Good. How did the conversation go?" "She admitted everything. 8 months, not 6. She's in love with him. She was planning to leave me." "Did you record it?" "No, but I have witnesses to her behavior. Her sister knew about the affair. So did her best friend, Tara." "We can use that. Elliott, are you sure you want to go through with this? Divorce is expensive, emotionally and financially." "I'm sure." "All right. I'll start the paperwork tomorrow." There was a knock on my office door. Vivian's voice, small and broken. "Elliott, I'll go. I'll pack tonight and stay with my sister until I can find a place." "Thank you. But I want you to know I never meant for this to happen. I never meant to hurt you." I opened the door. She was standing there with tears streaming down her face, looking like the woman I'd married 15 years ago. "But you did mean it, Vivian. Every hotel room, every lie, every time you looked me in the eye and lied about where you'd been, you meant all of it. Elliott, the divorce will be finalized before you can apologize, because apologies don't fix broken trust, and I don't build on cracked foundations." She nodded, turned away, and went upstairs to pack. I poured myself a drink and sat in my office, listening to her move around upstairs. Drawers opening and closing, hangers sliding across rods. The sound of my marriage ending. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. "Stay away from Vivian, or you'll regret it." Craig Dutton, I presumed, making threats already. I smiled and typed back, "Looking forward to meeting you properly soon." Then I blocked the number and started planning my next move. The house felt different with Vivian gone, not empty, liberated. Like a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying had been lifted from my shoulders. I woke up Tuesday morning to silence instead of her hairdryer, her morning phone calls, her constant commentary about everything wrong with the world. I made coffee without someone telling me I was doing it wrong. I read the news without someone reading over my shoulder and correcting the anchors. It was glorious. My phone had 17 missed calls from Vivian and 3 from Craig Dutton's office. I deleted all of them without listening and drove to work. Marty was waiting in my office with coffee and donuts. "Figured you might need fuel for whatever war you're planning." "Who says I'm planning a war?" "Elliott, I've known you for 12 years. You don't do anything halfway. When you decide to build a bridge, you build it to last 100 years. When you decide to end a marriage..." He shrugged. "I'm guessing you're going to end it thoroughly. Vivian moved out last night. Fast work. She made her choice. I'm just helping her live with it. Marty bit into a donut, studied my face. You're too calm. That worries me. I'm not calm. I'm focused. What's the difference? Calm people don't plan revenge. Focused people execute it precisely. My phone rang. Harold Ashford. Elliott, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Vivian hired an attorney, Rebecca Morrison from Morrison, Dutton and Associates. I laughed. Actually laughed. She hired her lover's law partner to represent her in our divorce. It gets better. Morrison is claiming you've been financially abusive, hiding assets, threatening Vivian. She's asking for temporary spousal support, half the house, and a restraining order. Based on what? According to her filing, you've been controlling the finances for years. You forced her to move out through intimidation, and you've been stalking her workplace. I drove by her office once. Can you prove that? I have GPS records on my phone. Good. Keep everything. Every receipt, every phone record, every piece of evidence. They're going to try to paint you as the villain here. Let them try. After Harold hung up, I sat in my office thinking. Vivian was playing dirty already, trying to flip the script and make herself the victim. That was fine. I'd expected it. What I hadn't expected was how much it motivated me. I called the private investigator Harold had recommended. James Wright, former police detective, now specialized in divorce cases. Mr. Mercer? Harold Ashford said you might be calling. I need surveillance on my wife and her lover. Legal surveillance, admissible in court. What are we looking for? Continued adultery, cohabitation, anything that contradicts her claims of being a victim. My rate is $200 a day plus expenses. Money's not an issue. How soon can you start? I'm already in my car. Next, I called Tara Nesbitt, Vivian's best friend and co-worker. Tara worked in HR at Morrison, Dutton and Associates. She'd known about the affair. I'd seen her name in Vivian's text messages asking for advice about handling Elliott. Elliott? Oh my God, I heard about... You knew, Tara. Don't pretend you didn't. Silence on the other end. I want you to know that everything you told Vivian, every piece of advice you gave her about lying to me, it's all going to come out in court. Elliott, I have the text messages, all of them, including the ones where you helped her plan alibis. I was just being a friend. You were helping her destroy my marriage. But here's the thing, Tara. You work in HR. You know company policy about relationships between partners and employees. You know what happens when that policy gets violated. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. What do you want? I want the truth. All of it. How long you've known, what you've helped cover up, who else in the office knows about Craig and Vivian. And if I don't, then I make sure your boss knows you've been helping cover up a relationship that could expose the firm to harassment lawsuits. You're threatening me. I'm offering you a choice. Help me get the truth, or get dragged down with them. Tara was quiet for a long moment. Can we meet somewhere private? Murphy's Deli, 1 o'clock. I'll be there. I spent the rest of the morning working on actual engineering projects, but my mind kept drifting to strategy. Vivian thought she could play victim and take half of everything I'd worked for. Craig thought he could threaten me and steal my wife without consequences. They were both wrong. At 12:30, I drove to Murphy's Deli. Tara was already there, sitting in a corner booth, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Thank you for coming. I don't have a choice, do I? Everyone has choices, Tara. You chose to help Vivian lie to me for 8 months. Now you get to choose how much trouble that causes you. She stirred her coffee nervously. What do you want to know? Everything. Start from the beginning. Tara took a deep breath. It started at the company Christmas party last year. Craig was drunk. Vivian was upset because you didn't come. I was working, emergency project. I know, but she was angry and Craig was attentive. They ended up talking all night, and he drove her home. When did it become physical? February, I think. She started asking me to cover for her, to say we were having lunch when she was really meeting him. Where? Hotels, mostly. Sometimes his house when his ex-wife had the kids, once in his office after hours. I made mental notes. All of this was useful. Who else knows? Most of the office suspects something. Craig's been giving Vivian special treatment, better assignments, flexible hours. Rebecca Morrison definitely knows. She's been covering for Craig. The same Rebecca Morrison who's representing Vivian in the divorce? Yes. That seems like a conflict of interest. It is. But Rebecca's ambitious, and Craig's the managing partner. I leaned back in the booth. Tara, I need you to do something for me. I'm not going to spy on them. I'm not asking you to spy. I'm asking you to document. If Craig gives Vivian preferential treatment, document it. If they're inappropriate at work, document it. If Rebecca Morrison does anything unethical in handling my divorce, document it. Why would I do that? Because when this all comes out, and it will come out, you want to be on the right side of it. You want to be the person who helped expose the corruption, not the person who helped cover it up. Tara stared at her coffee. I never wanted any of this to happen. But it did happen, and now you get to choose what you do about it. She nodded slowly. I'll help you, but I want immunity from whatever you're planning. As long as you tell the truth, you have nothing to worry about. That afternoon, I got a call from James Wright, the private investigator. Mr. Mercer, I have some interesting news. Already? Your wife and Mr. Dutton are currently at the Marriott downtown, room 412. They checked in at 2 o'clock for a business meeting. How long have they been there? 3 hours. Are you getting photos? Discreet surveillance photos, yes. Nothing inappropriate, just documentation of their presence together. Good. What else? Mr. Dutton's been married twice before. Both divorces involved adultery, his adultery. He has a pattern. Send me everything you find. Will do. That evening, I was sitting in my office at home when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Craig Dutton standing on my front porch, looking agitated. I opened the door but left the chain lock engaged. We need to talk. No, we don't. Look, this situation is getting out of hand. Vivian's a wreck. You're making threats. I haven't made any threats. You threatened Tara today. I offered Tara a choice, just like I'm offering you one now. What choice? I opened the door fully, stepped onto the porch. Craig was taller than me, but softer. Desk job soft. I'd been boxing since college and still hit the gym 5 times a week. You can walk away from my wife, find a new job, and disappear from our lives. Or you can keep playing games and find out what happens when you mess with someone who has nothing left to lose. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining consequences. You took something that belonged to me. You broke up my marriage. You turned my wife into a liar and a cheater. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? Craig tried to look tough, puffed out his chest. Vivian came to me. She was unhappy, neglected. She was married. To me. That should have been the end of the conversation. You don't own her. No, but I trusted her, and you helped her break that trust. I stepped closer. Here's what's going to happen, Craig. I'm going to divorce my wife, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly why. Your law firm, your clients, your ex-wives, your kids, everyone's going to know what kind of man you are. You can't. I can, and I will, unless you walk away right now. Craig looked like he wanted to say something else, maybe even take a swing at me, but he was smart enough to recognize that he was outmatched. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. He walked back to his BMW, got in, and drove away. I watched until his taillights disappeared, then went back inside and called Harold. Craig Dutton just came to my house. What did he want? To threaten me, to get me to back off. Did you record the conversation? No, but I have a security camera on the front porch. Good. Save that footage. Elliott, be careful. Desperate people do stupid things. I'm counting on it. The next morning, I woke up to find my truck vandalized. Someone had keyed "loser" into the paint on the driver's side door. I took photos, called the police, filed a report. Then I called James Wright. Can you find out where Craig Dutton was last night between midnight and 6 a.m.? Probably. Why? Someone vandalized my truck. I have a pretty good idea who. I'll check his credit cards, see if he bought gas or food anywhere that would put him in your neighborhood. Thanks. At work, Marty took one look at my truck and whistled. Someone's not happy with you. Good. That means I'm doing something right. Elliott, maybe you should slow down. This is escalating. It's supposed to escalate. Pressure creates failure. I'm just applying pressure in the right places. My phone buzzed. Text from Vivian. Please stop harassing Craig. This is between us. I texted back. You made it about Craig when you started sleeping with him? Deal with the consequences. She responded immediately. I'm trying to fix this. Give me a chance. Too late. Elliott, please. I love you. I stared at that message for a long time. 3 words that used to mean everything, now meaning nothing at all. If you loved me, you wouldn't have cheated. If you loved me, you wouldn't have lied. If you loved me, you wouldn't have tried to make me the villain in your story. She didn't respond to that. That afternoon, Harold called with an update. I've reviewed Morrison's filing. It's mostly bluster, but they're asking for a temporary hearing next week. What kind of hearing? Spousal support, temporary custody of marital assets, restraining order. Standard divorce tactics. What are our chances? With the evidence we have? Good. Adultery still matters in Virginia, especially when it comes to spousal support. But Elliott, there's something else. What? Rebecca Morrison has a reputation for playing dirty. She might try to provoke you, get you to do something that makes you look unstable. Like what? Anything. Lose your temper in court, violate the restraining order, make threats. She wants to paint you as the aggressor. Then I won't give her the ammunition. Good. Stay calm, stay smart, and let me handle the legal strategy. That evening, I was at Murphy's Deli having dinner when Vivian walked in. She looked around, spotted me, and walked over to my table. Can I sit down? It's a free country. She sat across from me, same position we'd been in a week ago when this all started. She looked tired, older somehow. Elliott, I know you're angry. I'm not angry anymore, Viv. Anger requires caring about someone. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I deserve that. You deserve worse. I know I hurt you. I know I broke your trust. But we had 15 good years together. Doesn't that count for something? It counted for everything, until you threw it away. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Every hotel room, every lie, every time you came home to me after being with him, those were choices. Vivian started crying. Real tears, not the manipulative kind. I don't know how to fix this. You can't. Some things can't be fixed, Viv. They can only be replaced. With what? With whatever comes next. She wiped her eyes. Craig says you threatened him. Craig's a coward who's used to getting what he wants without consequences. Now he's learning what consequences feel like. He's not a bad person, Elliott. He's a married woman's lover. That makes him exactly what he is. Vivian stood up. The divorce hearing is next week. I know. Harold Ashford is a good attorney. The best. This is really happening, isn't it? We're really getting divorced. The divorce will be finalized before you can apologize, I said, echoing my words from that first morning, because apologies don't fix broken trust. She nodded, turned to leave, then looked back. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. I know you are, Viv, but sorry doesn't change anything. After she left, I sat in the deli for another hour, thinking about 15 years of marriage, about trust and betrayal, about the difference between love and habit. My phone buzzed. Text from James Wright. Got something interesting. Can you meet tomorrow morning? I typed back. What kind of interesting? The kind that wins divorce cases. I smiled and finished my coffee. Tomorrow was going to be a very good day. James Wright looked like what you'd expect from a former police detective turned private investigator. Rumpled suit, tired eyes, and a briefcase full of other people's secrets. We met at a diner on the outskirts of town, the kind of place where the coffee was strong and the conversations were private. Mr. Mercer, what I'm about to show you changes everything. He slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were photographs, credit card statements, and what looked like hotel registration records. Craig Dutton has been busy. Very busy. I flipped through the photos. Craig entering hotels with Vivian. Craig entering the same hotels with two other women I didn't recognize. Craig meeting with a blonde woman at expensive restaurants. He's cheating on his affair with your wife. I looked up from the photos. What? Your wife isn't his only extracurricular activity? Meet Jennifer Walsh, paralegal at Dutton's firm, and Sandra Kim, court reporter who works their cases regularly. He's been rotating between all three of them for the past 6 months. The irony was so perfect I almost laughed. Vivian doesn't know. Based on my surveillance, no. She thinks she's his only affair. Meanwhile, he's running a rotation schedule that would make a shift supervisor proud. This is perfect. It gets better. Jennifer Walsh is married to a Marine who's currently deployed overseas. Sandra Kim is engaged to a prosecutor in the DA's office. If this comes out, it doesn't just destroy Craig. It destroys multiple families and potentially compromises ongoing legal cases. I studied the photographs more carefully. Craig with Jennifer at the Marriott. Craig with Sandra at a bed and breakfast outside town. Craig with Vivian at the La Quinta Inn. How did you get all this? Craig's not as careful as he thinks. He uses the same credit card for everything, parks in the same spots, follows predictable patterns. Plus, he's arrogant. Arrogant people make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? Wright pulled out another set of photos. These were taken yesterday. Craig and Jennifer Walsh in his office, after hours, in a compromising position. The photos were discreet but clear. Craig and a young blonde woman in what was obviously an intimate situation, taken through the office window from the building across the street. Is this legal? Photographed from a public space, no expectation of privacy in an office with open blinds, completely legal and admissible. I closed the folder. What do you recommend? Depends how far you want to take this. We could just use it in your divorce, prove that Vivian wasn't his only affair, which undermines any claim that their relationship was meaningful, or what? We could expose everything, all of it. Craig's pattern of behavior, the multiple affairs, the potential ethics violations. It would destroy him professionally and personally. What about the other women, Jennifer and Sandra? That's not your problem. They made their choices, same as your wife. I thought about Vivian, sitting in my kitchen a week ago, telling me she loved Craig, that she was thinking about leaving me for him. I thought about her believing she was special, that she was the only one, that Craig was going to leave his wife for her. I want to show Vivian these photos first. Why? Because she deserves to know what kind of man she threw away her marriage for. Wright nodded. Your call, but once you show her, she might warn Craig. Let her. It won't change the evidence. That afternoon, I called Vivian and asked her to meet me at the house. She arrived within an hour, looking hopeful for the first time since this started. Elliott, you wanted to see me? Sit down, Viv. We sat in the living room, on the couch where we used to watch movies together, where we used to plan our future, where we used to be happy. I have something to show you. I handed her the folder. She opened it, looked at the first photo, Craig with Jennifer Walsh, and frowned. I don't understand. Who is this woman? Jennifer Walsh. She works at your firm. Vivian flipped to the next photo. Craig with Sandra Kim. Her face went pale. Elliott, where did you get these? Keep looking. She went through the rest of the photos in silence. Craig with Jennifer, Craig with Sandra, dates and times stamped on each image, showing a pattern of behavior going back months. When she finished, she sat in silence for a long time. He told me I was the only one. I know. He said he'd never done anything like this before, that what we had was special. I know. She started crying. Not the manipulative tears from before, but the broken sobs of someone whose world had just collapsed. I left you for him. I destroyed our marriage for him. Yes, you did. And he was lying to me the whole time. Yes, he was. Vivian looked at me through her tears. You must hate me. I did, but now I just feel sorry for you. Sorry? You threw away 15 years of marriage for a man who was cheating on you while he was cheating with you. You believed his lies about love and commitment while he was saying the same things to 2 other women. You made yourself into someone I don't even recognize, and it was all for nothing. She wiped her eyes. What are you going to do with these photos? I'm going to use them in our divorce. I'm going to make sure the judge knows exactly what kind of man you left me for, and exactly how meaningless your affair really was. Elliott, please. Please what? Please protect Craig? Please protect you? Please pretend none of this happened? I stood up. You made your choice, Vivian. Now live with it. What about Jennifer and Sandra? This will destroy their lives, too. That's not my problem. They made their choices, same as you. Vivian closed the folder, set it on the coffee table. I need to think. Think all you want. The divorce hearing is tomorrow. After she left, I called Harold with an update. Elliott, this is incredible. With this evidence, we can not only win the divorce, we can make sure she gets nothing. What about the restraining order? With proof that she's been lying about the nature of her relationship with Dutton, and proof that Dutton has a pattern of manipulating married women, the judge will laugh Morrison out of court. Good. There's something else. I did some research on Rebecca Morrison. She's been censured twice by the state bar for ethics violations. If she's knowingly representing your wife while covering up her partner's affairs, that's another violation. Can we use that? We can report it. Let the state bar handle the investigation. That evening, I was having dinner at home when my phone rang. Unknown number. Elliott Mercer? Speaking. This is Jennifer Walsh. I work with your wife. I sat up straighter. What can I do for you, Ms. Walsh? I know about the photos. Vivian showed them to me. Did she? Mr. Mercer, I want you to know that I never meant for any of this to happen. Craig told me he was separated from his wife, that his relationship with Vivian was just business. Ms. Walsh, you don't owe me an explanation. But I do. My husband is deployed, and I've been lonely, and Craig was persuasive. What do you want from me? I want to help. I want to testify about Craig's behavior, about the lies he told me, about how he manipulates women in vulnerable situations. This was unexpected. Why? Because I'm tired of being lied to. Because my husband deserves better? because women like your wife and me deserve to know what kind of man we're dealing with. Ms. Walsh, if you testify, your affair will become public record. Your husband will find out. He already knows. I told him tonight. We're going to try to work it out, but first, I want to make sure Craig Dutton can't do this to anyone else. I thought about this for a moment. Jennifer Walsh's testimony would be devastating to Craig's credibility and to any claim that his relationship with Vivian was meaningful. I'll have my attorney contact you tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Mercer, and I'm sorry for all of it. The divorce hearing was scheduled for 10 a.m. at the county courthouse. I arrived early, wearing my best suit, carrying a briefcase full of evidence. Harold was already there, looking confident. How do you feel? Ready? Good. Remember, stay calm no matter what Morrison says. She's going to try to provoke you. I understand. Vivian arrived with Rebecca Morrison, a sharp-faced woman in an expensive suit who looked like she ate opposing counsel for breakfast. Craig was with them, which surprised me. Why is he here? Moral support, probably, or maybe he's worried about what might come out. Judge Patricia Hendricks called the court to order at exactly 10 a.m. She was an older woman with steel-gray hair and a reputation for not tolerating nonsense. This is a hearing for temporary orders in the matter of Mercer versus Mercer. Ms. Morrison, you may proceed. Morrison stood up, smoothed her suit, and launched into her opening statement. Your Honor, my client has been the victim of financial abuse, emotional manipulation, and intimidation by her husband. Mr. Mercer has hidden assets, forced her from the marital home, and is now stalking and harassing both her and her colleagues. She painted a picture of me as a controlling, abusive husband who was trying to punish Vivian for seeking happiness outside a loveless marriage. My client is asking for temporary spousal support, temporary custody of marital assets, and a restraining order to protect her from further harassment. When she finished, Harold stood up. Your Honor, opposing counsel's characterization of my client is not only inaccurate, it's deliberately misleading. Mrs. Mercer was not forced from the marital home. She left voluntarily after admitting to an 8-month affair with her supervisor, Craig Dutton. Harold presented our evidence methodically, the text messages proving the affair, the hotel receipts showing the pattern of deception, the bank records showing that I had moved assets legally and transparently. Furthermore, Your Honor, we have evidence that Mrs. Mercer's relationship with Mr. Dutton was not the meaningful connection she claims, but rather one of multiple simultaneous affairs Mr. Dutton was conducting with married women. Harold presented Wright's photographs. Morrison objected, but Judge Hendricks allowed them into evidence. Your Honor, these photographs show Mr. Dutton with 3 different married women over the past 6 months, including Mrs. Mercer. This pattern of behavior suggests that Mrs. Mercer was not leaving her marriage for love, but was rather the victim of a practiced manipulator. I watched Vivian's face as Harold presented the evidence. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Craig looked like he wanted to disappear. Finally, Your Honor, we have a witness who can testify to Mr. Dutton's pattern of deception. Harold called Jennifer Walsh to the stand. She looked nervous but determined as she was sworn in. Ms. Walsh, how do you know the defendant and Mr. Dutton? I work at Morrison, Dutton & Associates. Vivian and I are colleagues, and Craig is my supervisor. Have you had a personal relationship with Mr. Dutton? Jennifer glanced at Craig, then back at Harold. Yes, for approximately 4 months. During the same time period that Mr. Dutton was having a relationship with Mrs. Mercer? Yes. Did Mr. Dutton tell you about his relationship with Mrs. Mercer? He told me they had a business relationship, nothing more. He said he was separated from his wife and looking for a meaningful connection. The same things he told Mrs. Mercer about you? Morrison objected, but Judge Hendricks allowed the question. I assume so, yes. Harold presented Jennifer's testimony expertly, showing Craig's pattern of manipulation, his lies to multiple women, his abuse of his position as supervisor. When Harold finished, Morrison tried to cross-examine Jennifer, but there wasn't much she could do. The facts were the facts. Judge Hendricks called a brief recess. In the hallway, I could see Vivian and Craig having an intense conversation. She looked angry. He looked defensive. When court reconvened, Judge Hendricks delivered her ruling. Having reviewed the evidence presented, this court finds that Mrs. Mercer's requests for temporary spousal support and a restraining order are without merit. The evidence clearly shows that Mrs. Mercer engaged in adultery, that she left the marital home voluntarily, and that Mr. Mercer's actions in protecting marital assets were legal and appropriate. Morrison's face was stone. Vivian looked devastated. Furthermore, this court is troubled by the apparent conflict of interest in Ms. Morrison representing Mrs. Mercer, while her law partner was engaged in the affair that destroyed the marriage. The court will be referring this matter to the State Bar for investigation. Your Honor, Morrison started to object. Ms. Morrison, you will have the opportunity to address the State Bar directly. This hearing is concluded. Outside the courthouse, Harold was jubilant. Elliott, that was perfect. Complete victory. What happens now? Now we proceed with the actual divorce. With today's evidence, it should be straightforward. She'll get minimal assets, no spousal support, and you keep the house. I watched Vivian and Craig walking to their car. They weren't holding hands. They weren't even talking. Harold, I want to make Craig an offer. What kind of offer? The kind he can't refuse. That evening, I called Craig's office. Craig Dutton speaking. It's Elliott Mercer. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. You will after you hear what I'm offering. Silence on the other end. Murphy's Deli, 8 o'clock. Come alone. Craig was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth, looking like a man who'd aged 10 years in one day. What do you want? To give you a choice. What kind of choice? I sat down across from him. You can resign from your law firm, leave town, and never contact Vivian again, or I can make sure every client, every colleague, and every judge in this county knows exactly what kind of man you are. You can't. I can. I have photographs of you with 3 different married women. I have testimony from Jennifer Walsh about your lies and manipulation. I have evidence of ethics violations, abuse of power, and a pattern of predatory behavior. Craig's face was pale. What do you want? I want you gone. Out of Vivian's life, out of this town, out of my sight. And if I refuse, then tomorrow morning, copies of every photograph, every piece of evidence, every witness statement gets delivered to your wife, your ex-wives, your clients, the state bar, and the local newspaper. Craig stared at me for a long moment. You've thought this through. I'm an engineer. I think everything through. What about Vivian? What about her? She loves me. I laughed, actually laughed. Craig, she loved the lie you told her. She loved the man you pretended to be. She never knew the real you, and now that she does, she's going to realize what she gave up. You really think you can win her back? I don't want her back. I want her to understand the choice she made. Craig finished his coffee, stood up. I'll have my resignation letter submitted tomorrow morning. Smart choice. Elliott, for what it's worth, I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far, and now you get to live with the consequences. After Craig left, I sat in the deli for another hour, thinking about justice and revenge, about the difference between winning and being right. My phone buzzed. Text from Vivian. Can we talk? I typed back. Nothing left to talk about. Please, I need to understand. Understand what? How I got it so wrong. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, some lessons can only be learned the hard way. She didn't respond. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks later. Vivian got her car, her clothes, and enough money to start over somewhere else. I kept the house, the retirement accounts, and my dignity. Craig Dutton resigned from Morrison, Dutton, and Associates and moved to Florida. Jennifer Walsh and her husband went to counseling and eventually reconciled. Sandra Kim broke up with her prosecutor fiancé and moved back home with her parents. Rebecca Morrison was censured by the state bar and eventually left the legal profession. Vivian moved to Richmond and got a job with a different law firm. We never spoke again. 6 months after the divorce was final, I was having coffee at Murphy's Deli when I overheard 2 women talking at the next table. Did you hear about Vivian Mercer? No, what about her? She's back in town, working at that new firm downtown. Apparently, she's been asking people about Elliott, wondering if he's dating anyone. Really? After what she did? I guess she realized what she lost. I finished my coffee and left without turning around. Some stories don't need epilogues. Some endings are final. The divorce was finalized before she could apologize. And apologies, I'd learned, don't fix broken trust anyway. I drove home to my quiet house, to my peaceful life, to the future I was building without her. It was exactly what I'd wanted all along.